Hello friends, today I'm going to help you understand how to build a high-performance sales team. So how do you build a high-performance sales team? Well, by the end of this video, you will have a clear blueprint for assembling and nurturing a sales team that consistently hits its targets and exceeds expectation. Imagine transforming your sales team into a well-oiled machine that drives revenue and growth, making your business a leader in the market. Stick around and see how you can achieve this transformation. Have you ever wondered what sets apart the top 1% of sales from the rest? What secrets do they know that allow them to consistently outperform their competition? Today, we're uncovering those secrets and how to apply them to your team by first talking about what fosters a high-performance sales environment. Second, we'll talk about the structure of the team. And finally, I'll touch on compensation as a plan to create high performance. If you're ready, let's go. So what type of environment fosters a high-performing team? I believe it starts with culture. And I believe everything starts with culture, whether it's an athletic team, whether it's a sales organization, whether it's a business. If you have the right type of culture, it is something that people want to be a part of. It attracts others to be part of that organization. And I really believe that culture is the base for everything that performs, that's exciting, and that reaches the targets and goals that they put in front of them. People really want to be a part of something that does three things. Number one, it gives them confidence in themselves. It helps them believe. If they believe in themselves, if they believe in the organization, if they believe in the mission, that person is starting off on the right foot. They have the first essential element to begin performing at a high level. The second thing, they want to belong to something. They want to feel like what they're a part of has purpose and meaning. So the second thing is to belong. So first is believe, second belong. And ultimately, people want to feel like they're becoming the best version of themselves. So if they can become the best version of themselves, or they can become a better individual in lots of different areas of their life, they're going to be really excited. We have believe, belong, and become. I call it the 3 B's. And if you can instill those things within a culture, believe, belong, become, you're going to have an organization that is culture rich and usually performing at a very high level that you're going to see high performance penetrated all throughout the organization. You know, I've been fortunate in my life to be able to do a lot of different things. I've obviously been part of organizations and sales companies that have done really well. But I'm also a big fan of coaching athletics. Another job that I have is I'm a wrestling coach and a football coach, and I've seen just how instilling a culture of believing in people, letting them belong to something and becoming better versions of themselves, that is also a key for them seeing success in their life and on the field or in the wrestling mat. And so I've tried to instill that exact same culture and principles, not just in a work environment, but also in an athletic environment. And I promise you, it works in every essential element of a team or an organization that comes together. Now, another part of the environment that is crucial to see high performance is an organization that has a positive, infectious vibe. Now, we all like positive vibes, right? And we've tried to instill that in our organization. We even have t-shirts that say, I vibrate at a very high level, I have a positive vibe. And doing that just creates that sense that people want to belong to something that is kicking off a positive vibe. Having a vibe in your life is something that seems to be really taking hold nowadays. And if you can create that in a positive way, that can be infectious and energetic. You know, at our company that I currently have right now, Achieve Today, one of the things that's really important to us is having people enjoy and like where they work. Over the last few years, we've been voted one of the top places to work, and those are based off of Glassdoor reviews, anonymous reviews that people post. And so there's no way of telling who's putting the review, but they can be honest because it's anonymous. And we've seen very positive reviews, enough that have had us be counted as one of the best places to work in the type of work that we do. So that's been really fun and exciting to watch that and see how culture has led to that. So now that we have the base of a high-performing team of culture, next we need to create the structure that's going to create the optimal environment for a team to perform at a very high level. And what does that structure look like? Now, that can look different for a lot of different organizations depending on how you set up your organization or your sales structure. And I realize that for our organization, it might be completely different, but this is what we did that really saw our teams perform at a high level. Think about it. If you have the right structure in place, it also leads to being duplicatable, because if you can duplicate the structure that is creating high performance, you're going to have multiple pockets or teams that are performing at a high level because of the structure you put in place. And with our organization, here's what we did. We knew that we needed a leader or manager at the top of the team. And so if you have a high-performing team leader that has done well in sales that people can look to and say, hey, he's performed at a very high level, obviously I want to follow him and do what he's doing. Now, Now, not every great salesperson makes a great sales manager. That's one thing you have to determine. But part of that rests on your responsibility of training them to be a good manager and a good leader. But the top of the organization or the top of the sales organization is a team leader. Now, underneath that team, you have 3 levels of individuals. You have prospectors or setters, those that are taking that initial call, making an initial point of contact with the potential customer or the lead, and they're funneling them to the best salespeople on the team. Now, they need a whole lot of different training and customized training from the team leader and those on the team. Now, in addition to the consultants or setters, you've got the closers. These are individuals that are taking those probes or those sets from the setters and closing them into customers and collecting money from those customers. And those closers need a different type of training for closer training. Now, one thing that we did that we felt was really important to our organization is we wanted to show a career path. So if somebody came into the organization and they started as a setter and then they did well at that, they could become a closer. Now, if the closers did well and they showed that they did a great job of getting sales, but maybe even training or performing trainings or doing hot seat trainings or role playing with the probers to help get them to operate at a high level, then they could be something what we called an assistant team leader. And it was a natural progression. So this structure led to career development, right? They knew that they could progress because if an assistant team leader did really well, you would take that assistant team leader and those 3 to 4 people underneath him and create a separate team. That was then under that team leader who then became maybe a divisional leader. Because if he could kick off more team leaders from his team, why wouldn't he be rewarded as a divisional manager? And so those are some things that we've done, a progression that we saw in our organization, and this type of structure led to growth and career development. I also think that that type of structure in creating multiple teams also creates a positive competition. Anytime you can create competition within your sales organization between teams is really important because most salespeople that come into the business are competitive individuals. And if they can look across the table and say, hey, this guy's doing it, I can too. I know for me, getting started early on in sales, when I saw a person hit certain numbers, I thought in my mind, why can't I do that? That's something I should be able to do. But not only from a macro level, but also from an individual level where a person can compete against himself. So one thing we did in our organization is we would do incentives or bonuses based on an individual beating their 6-week sales average or 12-week sales average. If they could do that, they're competing against themselves. And if they're beating their 6-week average, it means they're improving and elevating their performance. They're becoming high performers. And so we had no problem awarding and rewarding them based off of those numbers and that feedback. I think other things you can do to help them compete against themselves is posting stats, posting those 6-week averages on a regular basis. I also am a big believer in praising for accomplishments. We do a meeting every single Monday to kick the week off, and we recognize those top performers from the previous week and give them immense recognition. That's something that salespeople love is recognition, especially in front of their peers. Now let's talk about compensation that will lead towards high performance. And this can be a little bit tricky because compensation is different for each organization, but here's a couple things to think about when you're thinking about compensation as far as creating a high performing sales team. Number 1, commission only. With commission only, you need to be a little bit cautious because for most organizations, most states, if somebody does not get sales for a commission only, you might say, well, we don't need to pay them if they don't get any sales because they didn't earn any commission. However, for most states, if somebody's working in your office all day long, you've at least got to pay them at least a base or a minimum wage, or else you could get in trouble. So please talk to the right people, a lawyer, attorney, accountant, make sure that you're doing it the right way. But commission only, still, you could have a commission only atmosphere, but knowing that you pay them maybe a minimum wage base if they don't get sales. People are not working in sales for a minimum wage base. They're working for that commission. And if it's commission only, you could pay a higher commission because the downside is a lot less for you as an organization because you're paying maybe that minimum wage base. But if they are getting sales and performing, you're paying a much higher commission. Another alternative is base plus commission, right? So obviously with a base plus, you have, no matter what happens, they're getting a certain base, but as they elevate their performance, they're getting commissions on top of that. Now, obviously there's more exposure to you as an organization, but a base plus commission, you've got to make sure that you have the right individuals under that compensation structure to really perform at a high level. And it's one that if they aren't performing, you've got to be really conscientious about potentially moving out those individuals that aren't getting sales, aren't moving the needle forward, or else you're going to be putting a lot of money out there in a base that otherwise you wouldn't need to if somebody is not performing. And another way to compensate high performing sales reps is a guaranteed minimum. You know, we've had a couple of people in our organization over the years that are just absolute awesome sales representatives. And they've been with us for a long time, but they need a guaranteed minimum every 4-week period of time in order to be able to continue to perform with the level that they need to, but it's got to be the right individual. And so what we would do is we'd look over a 4-week period of time and say, listen, we guarantee you over this 4-week period of time, you'll at least make this. And we will reconcile that every 4 weeks. And if you hit that over a 4-week period of time, you keep your commissions. If you hit less than that, we'll make that difference up in your guaranteed minimum. Now, for the people we've done that with over probably the last 5 years, there's been a handful of them. And almost every single time, I could probably count on one hand the times we've had to come out of pocket to match them up to their guaranteed minimum. These are the right type of people that are always performing it, and just giving them that guaranteed minimum allows them peace of mind so they can continue to perform at a high level. So these are some things that we've done in our organization as far as it comes to a high performing sales team when you incorporate culture, team structure, and compensation to really have success in an organization. But I'd be really interested in what you've done to see this type of success and how to get sales teams performing at a high level. So please comment below. Let's engage in a dialogue. And as always, just for stopping by and watching the video, I've got a free gift for you. It's aaronsSalesTraining.com. Just click on that link, 100% free, no obligation. It's our best sales training. It's called Sales and Persuasion. It's a 10-module course that we normally offer for $1,000. It's 100% free for you just by being here watching the video. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Have an awesome day.